Well, we thank the Lord for how He has led us yesterday. We'll continue from verse 3 today, Matthew chapter 13, from verse 3. And He spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. Praise the Lord. Now, when a person is speaking in parable, you have to note this. When a person is speaking in parable, he is not necessarily telling you what happened in real sense. Are you there? Sometimes, in order to communicate a parable, you can just create a story that you feel, that you believe can pass in the message. So when you hear he told the parable, most of the time, parable is just that story that you brought up in order to pass a message. It does not necessarily mean that the story really happened. You understand? Okay, let me give you an example. Maybe I'm trying to um, maybe I'm trying to maybe I'm trying to teach you diligence. Are we together? Maybe I'm trying to teach you diligence, and at a point I felt okay. In order for me to further help you, understand what I'm saying, I now related what I'm teaching to something. Are you there that you know? Maybe I now say, I just brought up a story. We do that a lot. I don't know how to explain this now, but I know you know what I'm trying to do, right? So we do that a lot, especially during communication, and you have this burden to help the people understand what you're saying. So sometimes you use a lot of parables. Are you there? So sometimes in parables we use stories that does not really exist. You understand? We just bring it up just to drive in the message. Are we together? Even that's what is done most times. Are you there? And that's not to say that you are lying. Are you there? But it is just an attempt to further simplify and grant the people listening to you more understanding. Do you understand? For example, okay, maybe you have a boy who is not uh, maybe you have a boy who doesn't listen, and then you now met with the boy, and then this boy is very disobedient, and he feels that's just the best way to enjoy himself, because to him he feels that he's mature, and how can a mature boy still be taking instruction? Those kind of things. So you now met with him. You now told him, well, what you are doing now is just like somebody who climbs a tree and feels he's no longer comfortable putting his legs on the stems, the branches. I mean, he's no longer comfortable putting his legs on the stem. And he wants to try putting his two legs on the leaves and see what will happen. Do you understand? You are still talking to this boy, but you want to drive in a message, so you are now using a kind of another expression to drive in a particular message. So you now tell the boy that what you are doing is like somebody who climbs a tree, and then he feels at a point he feels it's too common to put your legs on the branches. Let me try putting my legs on the leaves. Let me put my two legs on the leaves. And so you now tell the person that's just the way your case is. Now you are putting your legs on the leaf, and you are not likely to stand. You are likely to fall. There's a there's every possibility. As a matter of fact, falling for you is constant, because now you are tired of putting your legs on the branches. Now it's not like you saw somebody who did that. Are you there? But you are just using that expression Are you there? To drive in a message. And what you are trying to tell the disobedient boy is that you will soon be in trouble. That's just the message you are passing across. You will soon be in trouble. You also, through that parable, you're also telling the person that what he is doing has an expected end, and that the end is not something that is desirable. Are you there? So let me give you another example. When David slept with Bathsheba in the Bible, and then David killed the husband of Bathsheba, and then still married Bathsheba as his wife. When he did that, he was the king, so to him, there's no big deal in doing that. Remember when Prophet Nathan came to him? Prophet Nathan was relating with him using a parable. You see that? So Prophet Nathan now came to David and said, well, king, they said there's a man in this our land. This man has just one sheep. But there's another rich man who has many sheep, even hundreds or thousands. Now, there was a particular day that a visitor now came to visit this rich man. And the rich man wanted to do something very unique, just make the visitor very comfortable. He now came to this poor man, the man that has only one sheep, and then took the sheep of this poor man and then killed the sheep to entertain his visitor. Meanwhile, this rich man has hundreds and thousands of sheep, but he did not pick anyone from them. He went ahead to take the only sheep that the poor man had, and he killed it and used that sheep to entertain his own visitors. When David heard, David said, that man will die. In this our land, he will die. Now, I said, before he dies, he will also restore that thing. I don't know, maybe in threefold or in sevenfold. Are we together? Now, that thing that Nathan said, that picture Nathan created, was a parable. He was trying to drive in a message. So it was when the king reacted that Nathan now said, you are that rich man. You are the one. Because you took the wife of Uriah. And as if that was not enough, you still killed the man. Immediately, David got the message and he began to repent before the Lord. Are you seeing that? So that's a parable. It was not like there was a man in the land. Are you there? Nathan did not know any man like that. He just brought up the story. Are you there? He just brought up the story just to drive in a message. That is what parable is. Are you there? So you just come up with a story that you feel can drive in the message. Look at the one I shared the other time about somebody climbing the tree, and then now he decides to he wants to explore more. So what he wants to do now is to put his two legs on the leaves. It's not like I'm saying anybody doing that, but it's just a parable to minister to the person I'm speaking to, because I need to show the person the reward of disobedience. So I have to now liken. So that means in that my parable now, the disobedient boy is that person that is climbing the tree and wants to try putting his two legs on the leaves. So while you are speaking in parables, you will be you are talking to the person, but you are using another element in your story to refer to the person. Are we together? So it therefore means that even in this parable now, this parable of Jesus was actually speaking to the people, but he is using another element in what he's saying to speak to them. Are you there? Which they may now be the seed. Are you there? They are human beings, but in the parable now, they may now be the seeds. So when you speak in parables, you are using another element to refer to a particular person. That's the beauty of parable. But I've seen some other issues around this. I've seen a preacher now say things like, for example, there's this parable, the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, right? So when Jesus, Jesus gave a parable and then told us the rich man and Lazarus, how that the two of them died, and um, one was in Hades while the other was in Abraham's bosom. Are we together? Now I've seen a particular minister say that, well, so you can't teach that's just a parable, and that there's no maybe there's no Abraham's bosom or anything, that once you die everybody just goes to the same place, there's no heaven or hell or something. Well, at the same time we have to be careful. Are we together? Now one thing to note about parable is this. One, in parable you can choose to cook up a story. Are you there? It depends on your level of wisdom. You can choose to cook up a story to drive in your message. You can choose to use a story that um, that is not realistic. Are you there? Just to make a message real. That's one. Number two, in a parable, you can also use something realistic. Are you there? To make your message more real. It's either of the two. It's either of the two. So that parable of the rich man and Lazarus is not something to just discard and say we can't bank on this. It's just a parable. No, there's something like that. There's something like that. So we have to be discerning to know when this is just when this is just something, when it is an unreal story that is being used to make a message real, or when it is a real story, that is being used to make a message more real. For example, this one that Jesus was saying here, the sower went, and then that thing, that this particular parable now is not something that happened. So here Jesus was using an unreal story to make a message real. Jesus just in his wisdom just created the story just to drive in a message. But in the case, in the parable of that rich man and Lazarus, is something that is real. So Jesus was using something that is real to make a message more real. When I say something that is real, what am I trying to say? I'm not saying that there is a Lazarus. I'm not saying there is a rich man. Are you there? Now, Lazarus, rich man, the two of them, they are unreal. So they are metaphors. Are you there? So when you are speaking in parables, you can use certain unreal elements and add it to certain real experiences just to drive in a message. So in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, rich man, two of them are unreal elements, but they were added to real element to drive in a message. Because if you go and say, okay, if you try to trace the Lazarus, where's the Lazarus? He's not anywhere. Jesus was just using those two elements. Here's the rich man. It's not like there was the rich man really existed, or that Lazarus really existed. But it only came up in that parable. But that does not mean everything in the parable is not real. Because although the Lazarus in the parable and the rich man, those two elements are unreal, but there are other key things there. There are other real things there. For example, Hades is real. Abraham's bosom is also called paradise. It's real. How do I know? When Jesus was on the cross, he mentioned it, speaking to one of the thieves. Today you'll be with me in paradise. That shows paradise is real. Hades, if you read the book of Psalm, you see David pray many times, don't leave my soul in Hades. It's real. So in that parable, when I saw that, I was so scared. And this is a minister that has a lot of people following him. He said, just discard the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Parable is just you cooking up a story. So it's not something that is real. So that means the people should not believe that there's anything called Abraham's bosom. They should not believe there's anything called Hades. So there's no heaven, there's no hell. Is that what we are trying to say? This that I've taught you now, see, I will advise you. This thing I just said now, listen to it. Just keep listening to the voice note. Keep listening, keep listening. If you want to listen 7 times, do it. You will save your life, and you'll save the life of those that will listen to you. You need to get this thing I just said now. Are you there? How that sometimes in a parable you can use something that is unreal to make a message real, and you can use something that is real to make a message more real. Are you there? And in parable at times you can add unreal elements to real elements to make your message more real. Like that man called Lazarus, that his body was full of sore, and that rich man. Those two are elements that are not real. You can't make your research now and then they will tell you this is the father of that man. This is where he's not real. He just used that unreal element and he used two unreal elements and added it to two real elements to drive in a message. The fact that Lazarus and that rich man is just something that Jesus just came up with it just to drive in a message does not mean that there is nothing like Abraham's bosom. It doesn't mean there's nothing like Hades. It doesn't mean there's nothing like death. Because in that parable, we're told that the two of them died. So in a parable, you will mix real element. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes you mix real element with unreal element to make your message more real. Even in the parable of the sower. Are you there? Of course, the sower, Jesus just came up with that idea. It's not like he's referring to a particular sower. He's not, are you there? There's nobody in view. He just came up with that picture. Are you there? So that person is unreal. Are we together? But does it mean seeds are not real? Does it mean there's nothing like bag? Does it mean there's not like growth? Because the seed grew. Does it mean there's nothing like a stony ground? Does it mean there's nothing like tongues? So are you saying that? So in a parable, you mix real element with unreal element just to make your message, just to drive in a message. And every of the element in your parable, both the real and the unreal, they represent something that when understood can bring clarity to the message being passed. For example, although Lazarus and the rich man, they are two unreal elements, but Lazarus there can stand for those that reference God, and the rich man may stand for those people who are living their life carelessly, who do not regard God. Are you seeing that? Those two elements are unreal, but they have a significance. So every element in a parable, whether real or unreal, has significance. Please do yourself a favor. Don't rush this teaching and say, keep listening to this one. Keep listening until you get it. It's when you get this one now that you now move to the next one. Is that okay? You need to understand this. We need to understand this. So the Bible says that we should not be ignorant of the devices of the devil. It's very important that we are not ignorant of the devices of the devil. Is very, very important. So you must understand the dynamics of parables. Parables are beautiful. They are beautiful. Are we together? Aha. So in a parable, you can decide to use all the elements you are using in parable may be unreal. It's possible. Are you there? When I say unreal, the parable is really complex. Sometimes you don't have the words to describe some things. Parable can be okay. If all the elements you are using in the parable is unreal, are you there? Then know that even the unreal is actually real. What am I saying? Okay. Now look at this. The unreal elements in your parables are actually real. But what makes them unreal is that it's not is not you can't point to the particular person you are referring to. That's what makes it real. Are you there? So it is unreal because it's not like it happened in real life. Are you there? But it is real because even that element that is unreal is something that is real. What am I saying? All right. This is what I'm trying to say. Let me refer to a parable. Then I will use that to explain something to you. Now, in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, right? Rich man, Lazarus, those two elements are unreal. Are you there? Because there's nobody. Of course, are you there? The Lazarus is not somebody that people know. Jesus just came up with that picture, you understand? And the rich man also. That was why he did not bother adding the name of the rich man, because he just came up with the picture. Are you there? So, in the sense, now, in that sense, that is the two elements are unreal because they are not people that other people knows. They are not even people that Jesus knows himself. He just came up with, are we together? For example, if I say a boy and a girl, I just said something around that. Now that a boy and a girl, there are two elements that are unreal. It's not like I know any boy that did that or I know any girl that did that. And you get what I'm saying? But because that thing, because the two people I'm using in the element in that parable are not people that I can refer to or relate to, that element is unreal. But at the same time, that unreal element is actually real because a boy is a reality and a girl is also a reality. Are we together? What am I saying? If you go back to the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, are we together? Now, rich man and Lazarus, they are unreal because, are you there? Uh, Lazarus and the rich man is not somebody that people know. Jesus just came up with that. Are you there? But they are real because in real life, there are people that bears the name Lazarus, and there are people that can be called rich men. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying this to let you know that even the unreal element is actually real, but it is actually unreal because it's not something that happened in real life. And it is real because that unreal thing is also something that we see happening around. Do you understand what I'm saying? You get it now. Now, if you go back to that parable of the sower, are we together? The parable of the sower. Now, that parable is imaginary, is unreal. Are we together? But at the same time, it is also real because in real life, we have people we can refer to as sowers. And these men, they have seeds. And obviously, they can be moving and seeds will be falling either from the bag, maybe because there's a leakage or something. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get it. The parable has its own complexity, but you need to just understand it for your safety because uh, people can come up with this and then begin to confuse you. Before you know it, you will just discover that um, you are unable to, you now begin to doubt what you used to believe. So I think this morning I'm just going to end it with this parable. I don't want to add any other new teaching to it. I want you to listen to this and just get the emphasis. Are we together? So let me come again. In a parable, are you there? You can choose to use um, uh, things that are unreal just to make your message real, and you can choose to use things that are real to make your message more real. And I said that when you are using unreal elements, are you there? Those unreal elements are also real. Are we together? And they are called unreal element because you are not saying, you are not speaking from your experience. It's not like that thing happened, but you just brought up that experience. You just manufacture it to drive in a message. Because of that, we call it unreal. But at the same time, that thing that is unreal is actually real because in real life, we have similar situations. Are we together? Now, another thing to note is this: both the real and the unreal elements, they have significance. Every element in the parable has its significance. There is something that thing is referring to. Are you there? There's something that thing is pointing to. Is that okay? So I want us to get that. All right. Let's read verse 3 again. Verse 3, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went forth to sow. Are we together? I just feel I need to, I don't want to add many things to this. I want you to just get this emphasis. Are you there? Listen to this teaching now. Are you there? And ask questions. Is that okay? So ask questions. The space for asking questions is this morning time. So I will gather all the questions, send your questions to me personally. I will gather all the questions together. By the grace of God, I will ensure I answer the question before the end of today. Are we together? So I want to stop it. I will need to get this because there's no point rushing. Teaching and preaching is not how long you can preach. It's not how much you know. If I want to preach, if I want to continue teaching, I will. But there's no point rushing this. I want us to get this. Why? We must understand the complexity of parables. I want you to ask me any question. Let it be around parables so that by the time those questions are answered, we will settle this. Why? We must settle it. We must know the complexity of parable. Why? Because Jesus many times, if not more than 60%, spoke in parable. He spoke in parables. So we need to understand it. Is that okay? Thank you, Father. So ask your question, no matter how complex it is, please ask. So I'm going to be taking questions from the morning time, from now till 12. So all the questions I gather from now till 12, they are the ones I'm going to attend to in the evening today by the grace of God. God bless you.